morning, everyone. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah. Happy Saturday. We're missing Mags today, sadly. Yes. We'll see you soon again, Mags.
Yeah.
She couldn't be here. So we're taking the question of the week and we're dividing it all up. And since Mags isn't here, we're going to mix everything all up. So the whole roundup will be all out of order and discombobulated.
we
don't have Mags.
We're trying to keep them on their toes.
What's that? What's that,
We're
Betsy?
trying to keep them on their toes.
Keep them on their toes, exactly.
Yes.
Well, we've had lots of people join us. So Audrey Martin is the first one at 7:21 a.m. Wow, up nice and early. And then Ozzy M was here from Queensland. Marie Maloney next door in Collingwood. Susie Carta, Anna and Fiordalisi, Christopher Yolo, Lisa Gervais, Mohabalan Jester, Judy Stutz, Willa Dean, Doris, Vicky, who's here? You're there. But you're here. But you're there.
Of course. I did that once. Vicky. Impressive.
June is here from New Hampshire. Craig is driving. Yeah, I'm driving you crazy. Anyways, hello to everyone who's here in the chat and those who will join us shortly in the chat, and all of those who are watching this after the fact. And so hope you have a great day. There's Hillary and Marie just joined us as well. But to start us off in a different order, we're going to go right over to Betsy.
All right. Thank you, Greg. So we actually didn't have any new pictures over the last week for the August theme of Dressed for the Time, but you can keep those coming in. We're only at mid-August, but we did have several contributions for Celebrate Your Ancestor with a Connection to August by Anne Fiordalisi, who's with us in the chat. So I thought we'd take a look at a couple of them. So here we have her. Well, you know what? Actually, I'm going to start with her father, who had a birthday in August. He was the youngest of 4 children, and I thought it was interesting. He was Attilo Jr., but he was one of the younger sons. Sometimes that goes to like the firstborn son. But I guess if you have a parent who's maybe a little bit, shy about doing that, maybe you wait until. So anyway, here is Anne. This photo. Who knew that Anne lived in Hawaii for a while in the late 70s? Lucky Anne.
Yeah.
So this photo is of her and her dad when he visited her, taken by her Australian flatmate. But I want to spend a little more time on her paternal grandparents, Attilo Fiordalisi Sr. and Anna Porcello. And their connection to August is that they were married in August 15th. And I think it was 1918 in Ohio. And so that's the connection there. And we do, to start us off, we have a really lovely photo here.
Wow.
Yeah. So the photo is the photo was taken by Anne's father. And here we have Josephine and Joseph, and there's Anna, who is Anne's grandmother, and Attilo Sr., her grandfather. And that is an uncle and his little boy, Richard. This is from 1944, Cleveland Heights. And Anne, I have to say, I always feel a little nostalgia when I hear about Cleveland Heights, because I lived there for a year in the early 1990s. Yeah, so I like Cleveland Heights. Very pretty little section. So the thing that's interesting is you'll see that Attilo was born in Italy, but his wife, his wife, Anna, was born in Brooklyn, New York. So there was something that happened between 1907 and 1922, which not everybody knows about. That when a woman, an American woman, married a foreign-born man who had not been naturalized, she lost her citizenship, and she had to become the citizenship of whatever country her husband was a citizen of. So in this case, for Anna, even though she was born in Brooklyn, she became Italian when she
Mhm.
married Attilo in 1907. And a woman in this situation, if her husband became naturalized, then her status automatically changed along with his. Or if he chose not to become naturalized, she could apply to become a citizen again, but she would have to go through the whole process as though she were an immigrant. So this went on for 15 years until an Ohio congressman by the name of Cable had an act passed so that this was no longer the case. It was called the Cable Act, and but women, still you have all these. This is a record set called repatriation applications, and so Anne
Wow.
had this on her father's profile. I think it was because the application had to list the children, so it was proof of the relationship between her father and his mother. But yeah, if you have anyone in your family tree, a couple in which the male was foreign born and the mother was American born, you might want to search for a repatriation record like this. So very, very interesting period in history. And I'll just, I will drop this in the chat about what I read up on in the National Archives about this. So thank you, Anne. Thank you for celebrating your ancestors with us.
Yeah.
That's a great tip.
Yeah. And so those years again were 1907 to 1922?
1922. Yep.
Yeah.
And this article that I just shared is very helpful because it talks about the different record collection tools and just confusion that it was very confusing for women.
Yeah.
And some of them didn't realize, oh my gosh, I'm not an American citizen anymore, or
That's
so
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah. It's wild to think how things have changed, so much in relatively not too many years, right?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the whole, the other thing that floors me, and you see this sometimes in movies, period movies that are back in the 40s, 50s, or 60s, how women had difficulties getting bank accounts or being able to do stuff like that on their own, like, which you just take for granted now that those are like anyone could go in.
Right. And this, when I was emailing with Anne about this earlier today, I told her it struck a chord with me because my father was born in Taiwan and my mother in America, and he was not yet naturalized at the time that they married. So, I mean, it was decades later, but
Yeah.
Wow. And it has a negative connotation, right? It feels almost like a punishment for marrying someone who's not naturalized.
I mean, it says something about, view of women, but also, it does feel punitive. I agree.
Yeah. Then I would be Mexican. My husband is Mexican.
Oh, you'd become Mexican.
Yeah.
Well, at least you could still speak Spanish. Yeah, but still, that's interesting. Now, why couldn't you ever, both of you, just become double citizens? Like that would be the better solution.
Right.
Oh, well. Well, let's move on then to the question of the week. And the question of the week this time is, have you found a Mayflower passenger or a Puritan ancestor in your lineage? And so those are both two large groups of people, or at least their descendants are large groups. And I believe this question has been asked before, but we've got some very interesting answers to that. But if you're wondering, there's a quick way to find out if you have Puritan or Mayflower ancestors, because you can go because of the new My Connections. Well, it's not new; it's been around for a while now, and the My Connections. So if you come to this page, and if you don't know how to get to this page easy, what I usually do is I just go to the WikiTree homepage, and then scroll down to Question of the Week. Click that, and then that takes you to the Question of the Week. So that's how I always find it. Now you can also find it in the G2G forums as well. So that's another way. But if you click on the Mayflower passengers, it'll pull up the category, and then go to My Connections. And I have some cousins. I've got some distant cousins who were Mayflower passengers, but I don't have any direct ancestors. And then I have a bunch of people who are connected through marriage, a whole pile of those people, but I do not have any direct ancestors, just a handful of cousins. What about you two? Do you have cousins?
Well, that's a good question.
No, I have no ancestors or cousins.
Oh, none
just
of the
connections.
No. Just connections. Okay. And so many of the people in the chat have already answered this question in the post. So I'm recognizing a number of those answers. But if you hadn't, let us know if you are if you have Mayflower connections. And then the Puritans, you have to go to the Puritan category, and again go to My Connections. And there, I did this before. I do not have, again, I just have a few cousins. Now, this is interesting. Someone who is an active WikiTree member is listed in the Puritans category. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's, maybe Jennifer might want to have a look at that, because I'm not sure if that's what the category is for. Is there a Puritan descent? Or is it just the people who were the Puritans who came over? That's a question I have. Anyways, wondering. And there is a whole pile of those connections. So let's get back to the question.
Yes.
Betsy, do you have any?
Only very distant, like you. I think the closest was 27 generations.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I got to keep working on bringing that number down.
Right. Yes. So we have 61 answers so far. Let me just refresh that to see if anyone else snuck in an answer. Nope. 61 answers still. And someone has chosen the best answer. And it's the answer by Chris Ferriolo, our own Chris Ferriolo, with us right now. So Chris says, Puritans, yes, a ton of them. To list them all would take forever and a day. So what I did was I put them on my notable relations free space, and he actually created a free space page. Chris Ferriolo's notable relations. So he's got Fillois, notable settlers, Carignan Salière, so that's a military group that came over and founded Quebec. So a number of Quebec founders are descendants from them. The Salem witch trials, soldiers, Union soldiers, World War I and II. And so the settlers include, I guess, are from the Puritan migration. There we go. And he's got 10 of them here. He's got connections to 84 of the members of the Great Puritan Migration, which occurred from 1620 to 1640, who settled eventually in New England. There we go. And then a link to the project. Or no, that's to the Wikipedia page. So very cool, Chris. Excellent.
Yay. Great.
Yeah, very nice. Then he goes on to say that one of his most notable was William Pillsbury, who was his 11th great-grandfather. And if you check out the page, you'll find some interesting scandals. So we'll let you do that on your own to find those scandals. But he is directly related to the Pillsbury Company and the Pillsbury Doughboy and all that. So that's kind of funny. And when I read that, I have an interesting connection as well. My very first co-op job, when I went to University of Waterloo and studied computer science, it was a co-op program. So you did 4 months of school, well, actually 8 months of university, and then you did 4 months working for a company, and then back to school, 4 months working and whatnot. And so my first 2 work terms were as a programmer for the Pillsbury Canada Limited company. So, so I did programming by day for the Pillsbury company, and then every now and then when they did a taste test, they would call the programmers in the accounting department to go and test out their wares. So that was always very exciting, because if you got to test Pillsbury stuff, you got to test croissants or little mini cakes.
That is a tough job.
Yes, but you know what? Pillsbury Company is also owned by the Green Giant Food Company. The Green Giant, and more often than not, we were testing their wares because they grew corn and beans and other produce from Southern Ontario and manufactured it. And that's more often than not what we were testing.
Some Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, but so excited about testing a croissant.
There had to be a balance.
You'd get cream corn. Talk about lunchbox letdown. Anyways.
Hey, Greg.
Yes.
Greg, sorry. Chris Wine says, can you show us how you got to that page again? I guess the question of the week page.
Oh, the question of the week page. So I went to the main, I just went to the WikiTree homepage, so wikitree.com. And then on the WikiTree homepage, they always update it. So there's the connections of the week up here. So for the profiles of the week, which we'll be talking about shortly. But then on the right side, there's usually a box that says the question of the week. You just have to scroll down a little bit. There it is. And then you just click on whatever the question of the week is, and then that'll take you there.
There it is.
And then the category itself is hyperlinked within.
And then the category is hyperlinked here. So category is the Mayflower Passengers. So you click on that, it'll open up the Mayflower Passengers category. And then when you hit the My Connections, it will search through all the profiles that are linked to that category. So it's very cool. So I'm going to turn it over to my friend shortly, but there was a couple other answers on the first page that I thought I would just highlight. Kevin's had to follow Chris. Sorry, Kevin, that's hard act to follow sometimes. He says, I descend from around 200 individuals that were part of the Puritan Great Migration and one Mayflower passenger. One of those. I kind of thought that was funny. A lot of people listed out, and some of them organized them very nicely, like here. David organized them very nicely. And what I like about him is he gave some information. He asked, is this enough to prove that you're part of to join the Mayflower Society? Because there's a special society if you're a descendant, and you can prove that. And apparently it's not quite enough. There is a paper trail that has to happen. Yeah. A solid paper trail. And then Lynn comments that can be a bit troublesome in the early 1800s, depending on where your ancestors went. So if you can prove it, great. Otherwise, it's more difficult. So anyways, lots of people answered there. So I'm going to pass it on to, I think, Vicki, you're going to take page 2.
Yeah, this is a subject that I really knew nothing about. So I'm learning a lot.
Do you want me to share my screen?
Do you want to share?
Or it's up to you.
I'll share mine so I can read from
That's
there.
perfect. That you go ahead. You do that.
Yeah. There I go.
And where's you? There's Vicki.
Are you seeing my screen?
We are now.
Yep. You're good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I selected some answers too. I selected James Blank because he has a question for you. He has a connection to Richard Warren, and his 10th great-grandfather is surprisingly through both my mother and my father, he says. And he's trying to get his Mayflower Society application approved for nearly 2.5 years. But he hasn't had any success, so he's been rejected twice. And he needs a proof of Philemon Maury's family. So he says, if someone has found a Maury family Bible, I'm all ears, he says, for anyone that might have any real documentation. So please, if you have something, help our friend James.
Did he put the link to the profile for Philemon Maury?
Let's see. I guess this is his blank.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
there's no link.
Well, maybe he can comment
But
on
you can PM
post. Yeah.
Yeah, or send James a message if you have any connection to the Murrays. Then I selected Ashley Jones.
Nice.
That she has so many connections. She knew there were Puritans and probably Mayflower passengers on her father's side, but had no idea just how many. And she has 6 Mayflower passengers in her ancestors, including William White and Susanna Jackson, parents of her 10th great-grandfather Peregrine, who was born on the ship. Wow, that was amazing.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and there's also John Howland, who very nearly died on the voyage when he was swept overboard. I'm really amazed that everyone says like it was nothing. My 10th great-grandfather. I mean, this is huge. Having a 10th great-grandfather, I guess I get to 6 great-grandparents. So that's awesome.
Was that who was the writer of that?
Ashley Jones.
Oh, interesting, because there was another post that I'll talk about where Peregrine was born also on board the ship.
Oh,
but it's
wow!
Person. My ears were when you said that. Yes.
Oh, so they are related, or it's Ashley again?
Well, this one is from Marguerite Brown, and she writes, William White and Susanna Jackson are my 10th great-grandparents.
Yeah.
Yeah, are they the same ones that you were talking about?
Yeah. She says parents of my 10th great-grandfather.
Okay. And she said their son Resolved was her 9th great-grandfather, and he was also on the Mayflower with them. Another son, Peregrine, was born on board the Mayflower while it was offshore.
And who writes that?
Marguerite Brown.
Oh, neat.
Wow. So you're related, guys.
So, yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you that when you go back this far, your number of cousins and collaborators is exponential.
Yeah.
And we're all cousins.
Yeah.
And she says under the Puritan Great Migration immigrants, we've so far found somewhere in the neighborhood 244 direct ancestors. Wow. On 147 distinct lines. So, well, she's connected.
She's very connected.
Yeah. And then I got, let's see, Alan Jewett. He made it, and he belongs to the Mayflower Society.
Made it.
Yay. Then Scott says his prominent ancestor was Miles Standish. Oh, sorry, this is my mouse. Many years ago, I was shown a printed tree of the Bingham family, and when I saw Miles' name without any further documentation, I was skeptical. And yes, the combined research here at WikiTree has confirmed the connection. So, way to go, WikiTree!
Love that.
Yeah. And that's it. So back to you, Betsy, with page 3.
All right, I've got page 3. Let's see. Okay. So Jerry Finnegan just received membership in the General Society of Mayflower Descendants last June. Congratulations. After nearly a year of research. And he said it all boiled down to proving one father-daughter relationship that was in a number of authored narratives, but had never been approved by the historians at the society who are vetting things. And it was just, sort of one of those, the dates and the stars were not aligning in a genealogy sense, because the daughter was born in Vermont only 5 years after it became a state. And so her birth wasn't recorded. And then she died in Illinois before they began recording deaths. So both of those pivotal records where a father's name would have been recorded were missing. That's frustrating. But he says, we finally assembled a mountain of circumstantial evidence that satisfied the genealogists. So that's great. And that must have been so satisfying. And then we've already talked about Marguerite's connection to Peregrine, who was born at sea. I saw that in the chat. People were saying that would be the correct birth location. And I don't know if this was in your what you read, Vicki, but the parents, William White and Susanna Jackson White, what the end of their story was that William died the first winter in the colonies. Yeah, and Susanna remarried, and she remarried Edward Winslow, who became the governor of the colony. So, yeah, very.
No, that wasn't in my post.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And now this story, I really love this. I think it'll spark some recognition for many of us who, became interested in genealogy through school, something that happened in school. So Tammy says that in college, she took a class on the history of religion in America, and she was reading all about the Puritans and, how religious difficulties played out in the colonies in her textbook. And the professor for the class was a genealogist. And so for a class project, they had to research their family lines by interviewing their living relatives. So she interviewed her paternal grandmother, who produced an excerpt from a genealogy book called The Genealogy of the Graves Family in America by John Card Graves. And it connected with what she had read in her textbook, like the very same group of people and settlement of a particular town. So she said, I was amazed. Here were my ancestors living the history I was reading about in my college textbook. So that's what got her into genealogy. Wonderful. And I think I have one. I know I have a couple more. Carolyn Adams writes, and I thought this was a good point, said, thanks for differentiating between Mayflower passengers and Puritans, because the Pilgrims were not Puritans, they were separatists, choosing to separate from the state religion of England, and many first traveled to Holland, because they wanted to retain their own language, culture, but because they wanted to retain their own language, culture, and religion, they chose to move on much farther to the New World. Whereas the Puritans wanted to keep that religion and purify it. So to sort of rephrase it, you could say, Carolyn says, you could say the Pilgrims lean left and the Puritans lean strongly right. Some Puritans leaned radically right. People named Mather, for example. So, and she has way more Puritans in my ancestry than Mayflower ancestors. I think we're seeing a trend with that. And okay, so this is my last one from Ron Kaiser. Many of us have had close but no cigars experience with Plymouth. And his third great grandmother, Elmira Van Natter, I'm not sure where to put the emphasis, but descended from Moses Simons, who was on the Fortune, which was the second boat to arrive in the New World in 1621. So for years, he would tell people, we just missed the Mayflower. Missed it. Yep. Even more tantalizing was her husband's brother's given name Howland. And
Ooh.
Vicki, I think you mentioned the name Howland.
Oh.
Eventually, we learned their grandmother's Elizabeth's maiden name was indeed Howland, but that came not via John, but his brother Henry. And WikiTree now tells us that Elizabeth descends from 7 other Mayflower passengers through her mother. And that's ongoing research. But here's the interesting part. Her husband's occupation is given as Panther Slayer.
Panther Slayer?
Panther Slayer.
Wow.
Yeah,
What's
that's well, I guess a panther. Someone who hunts panthers.
Was there a panther pandemic?
Really?
Records in an environment frontier enough where that was necessary are unsurprisingly sketchy.
Well,
He said,
because when the naturalists went out to do a census of all the panthers, they got eaten.
yeah, that's right. That's
So we
right.
don't have any stats.
And then he ends by saying, Elizabeth, by the way, lived for a time in Pike Township, Pennsylvania, and is an ancestress of Burl Ives as well. Coincidence, of course, but she was literally Betsy from Pike.
Very nice.
All right.
Great stories.
Cool. So, Vicki, do you have some?
Oh, yes. I'll share my screen again.
We're saving the profiles of the week to the end, folks. We're really mixing it up today.
You're making them dizzy, Greg.
I know.
Everything's different. Am I sharing my screen? Not yet.
No, not yet.
Let me just grab there.
Yeah, you got me.
Now you are.
Thank you, Greg.
No problem.
Well, I showed this last week, but I'll show it again in case you didn't see it. I invite you every month to join the Profile Makeover Challenge. And this month, I wanted to highlight some of the profiles that our participants have made. So last week, I showed you William Noah Allen's profile, and today I will show you Gloria Ann Hammerly. After that, she was Reynolds. This was made by Seth Wickham, and I really want to highlight it because it's such a human profile. So this is the table that I do with the before and after photos. And these are the dashes of love that Seth Wickham added to this profile that had nothing before. Gloria had no bio, just sources. And now Gloria has a beautiful biography.
Wow.
She has a picture. Yeah, she has her whole family, 2 spouses, children. And this biography is so touching. It's so, we're used to reading notables biographies, right? But her bio, really, please read it. I wish I could read it complete because it's so beautifully written. Gloria Ann had a life marked by resilience, determination, and generosity, despite facing numerous challenges along the way. She was born into a turbulent family situation. Her parents separated, and she and her brothers were placed in a children's home. Their mother moved to California with her sisters, and this gave Gloria a sense of independence and a drive to create a better life for herself. I'm sorry, but I have to read it. Everything is really moving. Gloria was determined to pursue her dreams. She worked tirelessly cleaning houses to put herself through nursing school, joining the U.S. World War II Cadet Nursing Corps. And she became a nurse, a profession she pursued with passion and commitment. And after that, she found love, but then her marriage had some infidelity and hardship, leading Gloria to make the difficult decision to leave him. I love the writing. And Gloria remarried, and her son recalls that she was first married to a bad man, but then she married a good man. um, and this is the place that this is the part I love the most. It says that Gloria was known for her generosity and frugality. She was known to give advice about frugality, including things like keeping the shampoo bottle from hotels. Who does that? Raise your hand. She was also remembered for her annual tradition of creating shoebox gifts filled with small treasures and homemade. Oh, that's awesome. Gloria loved simple pleasures, such as her Sunday tradition of enjoying a meal at KFC. Oh, I really really love this bio. If you have the time, please take a look at what Seth did.
I mean, that really is a dash of love. I mean, we
Oh,
see
yeah.
all the richness,
Yeah.
the special things between the dates. I love it.
Yeah, wouldn't you love to have this bio for your grandma or
That's
someone
great.
that you knew? And last, I want to say, Gloria encouraged her grandchildren to pursue their studies. Her tradition of gifting high school graduates with financial support underscored her belief in the power of education to transform lives. Oh, what a nice touch.
Nice.
So
That's a
that's
huge
the
dollop of love.
And
wow, yeah.
say what inspired Seth to pick the this profile, Gloria's profile? Are they related?
Oh, yeah. I missed the G2G profile. But that's from May, so it's hard for
Yeah.
me
Okay.
to
I was just curious.
find it now. Yeah,
Yeah.
but now I was
Oh, wait a
wondering the
second.
same.
Others.
Let's see their children. Let's see the Seth profile. Maybe this is Seth.
Well,
Great
the little
profile.
icon on Gloria's profile.
Yeah, let
There's a
me
little
see her.
icon next to the
Mhm.
envelope where you would email the profile manager, and it would say
Yeah,
the
and the
relationship.
connection.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. Oh, it's
great
there.
grandson.
Yeah. Go up to the top
Where do
again.
you see that?
Go up.
Scroll up.
Ah,
Scroll up.
there. I missed it. Sorry.
Okay.
First
Great
great
grandmother.
grandson.
Love it.
Awesome.
Ah,
Yeah,
I never noticed that
great.
relationship connection before.
So easy to miss, and I love it.
First great grandson. Yeah, I went directly here, but yes, there it was.
So that's his
So
great grandma.
that's an awesome work.
Way to go.
Already congratulated, Seth. It's really really emotional. I loved it. Okay, so that was the makeover of the
The
week.
makeover. Excellent.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay.
So please join the challenge if you want to spread that kind of love to your ancestors.
Wait, Anne is asking, can we just, maybe Greg could demo it? How
What's
did
that?
you show the relationship between the profile manager
Sure.
and the profile subject?
Okay. So if we went to, well, let's just pick someone from today. I don't know if this is going to work or not.
Yeah, it might be managed by a project rather than a person.
Well, this one is managed by many projects, but if I just grab this, so on the, let me zoom in here. When it lists the profile managers, right next to the name is this little wee icon here. You see, it's like two arrows pointing in at each other. And if you click on that, it'll find the relationship between, and in this case, Leander is a 8th great grandniece of Joseph Broussard. So she is one of the profile managers. Now, Joseph Broussard is Acadian, so he's also managed by the Louisiana Family Project Tree, the Acadians Project, Jacqueline Girard, and Frank Nolan. Jacqueline is part of the Acadian team, and Frank I don't know specifically, but yeah. So
yeah, I'm used to using that icon to see my connection to a profile, but I forgot that it is meant to be for the profile manager.
yeah. Oh, and then you change it. You
That's the
put your name
first.
in there, right? Yeah. So
Yeah,
you click on it, and then you
right.
put your own name
My
in there,
ID.
Yeah.
right? Because I
Yeah,
usually
my
go up
ID.
to the here and then down to relationship. But you're right. Clicking on this would be even faster. That's wild. So, as previously mentioned, the theme this week for the profiles of the week are Acadians. And if you're wondering why, the 15th of this week, on Thursday, August the 15th, that was National Acadian Day in Canada, anyways. And I don't know if it was a National Acadian Day in the US as well, or in Louisiana.
I maybe in Louisiana, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was first celebrated in New Brunswick, which has a huge Acadian settlement as well. But anyways, it has been adopted. And my neighbors right across the road actually had a huge Acadian flag out, because Michelle actually originally came from New Brunswick, and so she is of Acadian descent herself. So she was very proudly shared that. So if you want to know all about the Acadians, if you haven't heard or you don't know their story, there is the Acadian Wikipedia article, of course, is one place to go for that information. And the short version is basically the Acadians were people who came from France, settled in what is now Nova Scotia, some of New Brunswick, and actually a little bit of Maine as well. So that was sort of the area that they settled in the early 1700s. Or late 1600s, early 1700s. And they were there, just settling away and having families and raising children and whatnot. At one point, there was what we call the 7 Years' War, which I think you call the French Indian War. And during that time, some Acadians fought for the French because they were French speaking. Now, most of them basically tried to stay neutral. They were just worried about farming and looking after themselves. But some did sign up and help out the French. And the Americans were not happy, or the English were not happy about that. This was before 1776. So yeah, the British were not happy about that, and over a period of time, I think it was 1755. It began. They forcibly expelled them from their homes. So all of these Acadian settlements, the British came in and they forcibly removed people, uprooted them from their homes, sometimes separating families and forcing them to go somewhere else. Usually they sent them off to other French-speaking areas. So, for instance, going to Haiti, for example, or Louisiana, or other places. But they weren't always that careful about that, and it was a very bad scene, basically. Now, a number of them made it back to some eventually came back to Quebec area. There was a number that came back to the Acadian Peninsula in later years, but of course that a huge population and a thriving population in Louisiana and that area. Thrived to this day. Now, a really excellent source for more information about Acadia, and someone who is an amazing writer, is Roberta Estes. And on her blog, DNA Explained, she does blogs weekly, and often more than per week. And she has lots of articles about DNA, lots of articles about Acadia, and she mixes them. And she also does profiles of the week. And many of them are about her own Acadian ancestors. So here's an example of one, which talks about Acadian ancestors and their DNA, but you can go back and you can check, if you can click on lots of links and read all about her. So I would recommend reading her blog for history of Acadians, because she's got lots of information there. But just like what we did for the Mayflower Society and the Puritans, we can do the same thing for Acadians. And so here I have done that. And you can see I actually have a number of direct ancestors who were Acadian, and then a whole pile of cousins. Because as I mentioned before, my maternal side is pure French Canadian, and some of those are from Acadia, some are from the founding of Quebec itself. And we will meet one of my great greats.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
This is the first time I've actually had a direct grandfather in the categories. So we'll start off with Aubin Edmond Arsenault, who's a sixth cousin 3 times removed. And many of these people will be distant cousins of mine because of my French-Canadian connection. He was born in Egmont Bay, Prince County, in the colony of Prince Edward Island. So he is a descendant of Acadians himself. And he's notable because he was the premier of Prince Edward Island, the 13th premier. 13th premier of the province itself, and the very first Acadian to actually head the government of a Canadian province. So that's pretty cool. Born in 1870. His father was actually a senator, and he had 11 children, and then buried in Charlottetown. Next, we have Joseph Broussard, who's the one who I just showed you there. He was also Acadian, of course, lived in Louisiana. He was a settler, so he lived in Acadia when it was Acadia before expelled, and then he was expelled. In the Grand Dérangement, that's what they call it, the Grand Movement, the big movement, or the big expulsion from Acadians to Louisiana. And he was a figure of bravery. He was a leader. He led the resistance, but eventually, of course, he was caught and forcibly removed to Louisiana. I think was it his group that they were deported from the area and sent off by sea. He was a prisoner of war for a few years, and then released in 1763 at the end of the war by the Treaty of Paris. And then, so then he was expelled and made it to Louisiana in February of 1765. But unfortunately, and then he was appointed as the militia captain and commander in April by the French colonial governor. But he died just I think he died just October of that year. Yeah, October of 1765. So, but anyways, he was a Acadian leader early on.
He was my closest.
He's your closest?
Yeah, yes. Mine too.
17.
Oh, 19 for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the next one of Acadian descent is Beyonce. Who knew? I didn't know. There's an accent at the end of her name, so we should have known. Of course, she's a Canadian, French Canadian. Beyonce Knowles Carter, born Beyonce Knowles, American singer, songwriter, entrepreneur, actor, born 4th of September 1981 in Houston, and married to Sean Corey Carter, and they have 3 children together. Oh, a pair of twins. I did not know that. Oh. Pair of twins, fraternal twins with 1 son, 1 daughter, and another older daughter. So if we look at her ancestors, the Knowles side, that's her father's side, Alabama, Rome, George Miller, Knowles, Moore, Dixon, not the Acadian side, but we look at her mother's side. So Beyonce, or Beyonce, is her mother's maiden name.
Wow.
And it looks like every generation it's spelled slightly differently, which isn't unusual.
But, their own version.
Yeah, they all have their Beyonce, Beyonce. All very close.
Greg, did you see that Murray says she's a descendant of Broussard?
Oh, there we are. There's the Broussard line right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That makes sense. Very cool. So it's her mother's side, and maternal side is the Acadian side. Then Réal Paul Cormier, who is an eighth cousin once removed. Born in 1967 in Moncton, New Brunswick, and passed away only at the age of 53 in 8th of March 2021, just 3 years ago, again in Westmoreland, New Brunswick, Cap Pelé. He was a Canadian-American professional baseball player, a pitcher who played in the Major League Baseball. So I was curious, he has a number of DNA connections here, and one of those connections was a name I recognize, and some of you may recognize, Gisèle Cormier, one of our WikiTreeers, one of the leaders of the Acadian Project. So I thought, how are they related? Well, let's see. If I click this, will that show me? It will. They're third cousins.
Wow.
There's third cousins to this notable picture. Excellent. Isn't that cool? That's very cool. Congratulations, Gisèle. But I thought, how did he pass away at only 53? And going to Wikipedia, it says he died of pancreatic cancer. Yeah. That's very sad.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. January 2020, diagnosed with a tumor in his lungs, and then a year and a couple months later. Yeah, it's very sad. But yeah, too bad. The next Acadian we have.
Great. Yes. I should take this.
I
have to sneak away early class today.
Great. So. Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, Betsy.
Bye.
Good to see you, Betsy. Have a great week. Bye. Okay. And then there were two. Okay. Cléoma Bro Falcon. Born Cléoma Bro, daughter of Auguste Bro and Mathilde. She was born in 1906 in Crowley in Acadia, Louisiana, and passed away. Now, she died young as well at the age of 34, 4th of April, 1941, again in Crowley. American guitarist and vocalist, along with her husband, Joe Falcon. They recorded one of the first known examples of Cajun music. So the recordings Allons à Lafayette was released in 1928 and opened the way for other commercial releases of Cajun music. Of course, Cajun music is very popular now, and so they were groundbreaking in that regard. And she was one of the few women who actually performed live, despite what the social standards of the time were. They recorded at least 41 songs, many with Cléoma identified as the primary performer. She died on April 7th, and it doesn't say exactly here. Let's see. There's a picture of Cléoma. And let's see down here. After a long unspecified illness is all that the Wikipedia article says.
And is that a banjo or a guitar?
It looks like a guitar, but it's very big for guitar. Like the portion here. I'm not sure what the correct name of that is. But the way she's holding her hand looks like she's picking like as if it was a banjo. So I don't know. That's interesting. Well, it says musician, guitarist, and vocalist, and vocals and guitar. So I guess it is a guitar. Then we have Ron Guidry, who was born in the 50s and is still a living person. So his profile is fairly light. Nicknamed Louisiana Lightning and Gator, American former Major League left-handed baseball pitcher who played for 14 seasons for the New York Yankees, twice leading them to the victory in the World Series. In '78, the year he unanimously won the Cy Young Award, he struck out 18 batters in a game, which was a Yankees record. That's pretty good pitching to strike out that many.
If you say so. I have no idea.
You have no, yeah.
Hey, Garrick.
Yeah.
Lisa says Cléoma is a direct relative at 16 degrees.
That's great.
And Anne says it's a steel guitar. Patricia says it's a resonant guitar.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
you're the music man here.
The extra space would allow it to resonate. Yeah, to really sound well. Yeah, that makes sense. Neat. Well, and the metal acts like a speaker pre-electric guitar. Oh, that's very interesting.
Wow.
Huh. That's smart.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I guess it would echo or it would amplify the sound.
Yeah.
Very
Mm-hmm.
cool. So here's Ron, and if we look at his ancestors, let's see. So the WikiTree, not surprisingly, is Louisiana based. Those are all Louisiana. Eugene Emily Zephyrin. And even on his mother's side, oh, there's Broussard again. Broussard, Alexandre Broussard. So
the same name.
now, now this Alexandre Broussard, I had opened that up earlier. I was wondering if he was born in Lafayette. So he was born in Lafayette before the previous Joseph Broussard got there. He didn't arrive in Lafayette till 65. And this Alexandre was born, oh no, wait a second. No, I got the wrong centuries. He arrived in 1765.
Mm-hmm.
This is 1851. So he could be a descendant of Joseph, or Joseph himself had a brother named Alexandre. So if the Alexandre name was passed on down the line.
Would you see the connection?
Well, the problem is he doesn't have his parents there, and we don't have a birth record for him yet. But I wonder if that's a connection that could be made. I mean, you would think. So that's a challenge to some WikiTreeers out there. Is let's see if we can get this Broussard line connected back to the original Broussards from Acadie. Moving on, Louis Hébert. This is my 12th great grandfather.
Wow!
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Yeah. A direct grandpa, papa, whatever. So Louis Hébert, his claim to fame. So he was actually born en France, born in Paris, France, around 1575. So that we're going way back. And the reason why we have records that far back is because wasn't just a commoner. He was actually, he actually had a profession. He was the first apothecary, like a pharmacist, basically, to settle and practice in North America. He was a colonist. He was the attorney for the king, and the first Canadian seigneur, lord. So they say lord, but it's not really a lord. A seigneur is a landowner. I mean, I guess it's called a lord, but it's not lord as in, lords and ladies from England. It's basically a large landowner. So his son Nicolas Hébert and Jacqueline Pajot, born in the parish of Saint-Germain-le-Roi in Paris. His father was an apothecary before him, and he continued on the family tradition. Actually studied and then reviewed the history of pharmacy and all that. Married. His first voyage, he was in Acadia. So he landed and worked in Acadia originally. Then he went back to Paris, and then came, he was in Port Royal, which is another place in Acadia, another settlement there. And then later he came the third time over, and this time he stayed, I believe. He was in Canada, in Nouvelle-France, which is actually where Quebec is. So the first two times he came to Canada, he stayed in Acadia, and then he settled in Nouvelle-France, which is where Quebec, the city of Quebec, is in that area. And he became an apothecary. He became a farmer. He took copious notes about plants and whatnot, and had his own tract of land. And he has descendants, but none of them are direct. None of them bear the name of Hébert because only his daughters survived. To have.
I love those images.
Yeah, isn't it neat?
The stamps.
The stamp,
and the book.
He's got his own stamp.
Yeah. It looks awesome. Mary says he's the first white man to grow marijuana in Canada. I'm not sure if that's...
Well,
do you see any of that there, Greg?
Well, I don't know. I mean...
in his profile?
Yeah.
It could be.
It could be. Let's see. Let's do a search for Mary. No.
Nope.
The only M-A-R-I I get is Marie Mariage. I don't
Marie.
get, if I put a J there, no, I don't see it. But I mean, it could be true. It just didn't make it into the WikiTree profile yet. But that's possible. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. Jean-Louis Le Kerouac, also known as Jack Kerouac, seventh cousin, born in Lowell, Massachusetts, novelist, poet from the pioneer of the Beat generation, born March 12, 1922, son of French-Canadian immigrants. And I actually have some French-Canadian relatives, like great aunts and uncles, who moved to exactly Lowell, Massachusetts. So that's interesting. Might have to follow that up. Went to Columbia University, played football, but he broke a leg and then stopped. But he wrote 2 works, The Beat Generation and a book called On the Road, which is very famous. Sort of described his life about someone who had a short span of greatness, of fame, and then went back to being a nobody. And unfortunately for him, that meant drifting into alcoholism and succumbing to cirrhosis of the liver. And so he died really pretty young, 47. That's younger than you should be dying. And interesting, he was buried. His funeral mass was celebrated at Saint Jean-Baptiste Cathedral, where he served as an altar boy when he was young. And then he was interred in the family plot. Look at the guy. You know? And then
he's my most distant.
He's your most distant,
connection.
Eh? Okay. Romeo LeBlanc.
Greg.
Yes.
I'm sorry. We have someone in the chat saying, "Hey, y'all, biscuit."
Oh, is Sandy
Can
here?
you guess who that is?
Is Sandy
No, it's Max.
Max.
Hi, Max.
Hey, Max.
Very
cool.
She's watching.
Romeo LeBlanc is another Canadian politician. He was actually the Governor General of Canada. So the Governor General is a position that it represents the Queen. So because we're still part of the British Commonwealth, we have a Prime Minister that we elect, of course, but then there's a representative of the Queen, which is the Governor General. And so he was in between Ray Titian and Adrienne Clarkson. And he was the Governor General for 4 years of Acadian descent. There's a picture of him right there.
Romeo LeBlanc.
Yes, Romeo LeBlanc.
Maybe we're related. Blanco,
yeah, that's right, Blanco. LeBlanc, Blanco. Yeah, of course. And then the last one is Antonine Maillet, who is also of Acadian descent, and she was a writer. She won the French Prix Goncourt, coveted award, Governor General's Award for writing, and a number of honorary doctorates. And my wife, who was actually a French major, recognized her name in some of the works that she's famous for. La Sagurine and Pélagie are some of the novels that she wrote. Her writing, she wrote the way that real people speak, not the king's French. And so with her works, her words were liberated. And so that appealed to people at the time. And that is our profiles of the week through Acadia.
Great. And Lisa has a direct relative again, Romeo.
Oh,
Romeo.
Look at that. Very cool.
Through the same line. Boudreau.
Mm-hmm.
Boudreau?
Boudreau. Yeah.
Boudreau. And Mele. Mele too.
Wow, she's too quick.
Please say it, Greg.
Which one? Maillet.
The Maillet. Oh my God.
Yeah, the double L, like like July. You pronounce it juillet, but it's spelled J-U-I-L-L-E-T. So the double L makes a Y sound.
Yeah.
Doesn't it make a Y sound in Spanish as well? 2 L's.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. Yeah, but it's more rough, rougher than your j.
We
will say j. Llama.
Oh. Okay. So Anne is right. This is the last roundup before the Wiki Games, because this time next week we'll be Wiki Game around with our first. We'll be in the middle of the first activity.
And Greg and I are captains.
And we are captains. I'm captain of the Marvelous Marvelous Maples. And your team?
And my team is the Collaborative Conifers.
Oh,
so hi to them.
Hi to them. So what is happening around WikiTree next? So we're obviously chatting this weekend. We have the sourcing sprint. The U.S. Black Heritage Weekend Sprint is also going on this weekend. Of course, this is what we're doing right now, the roundup. There will be a question of the week and the 52 Ancestors, a Data Doctors Challenge, of course, and connection checkers. So there will be a question of the week this week and another one next week as well. And you can play the connection checkers game and see which one you're closest to and, verify all of those links. But we will not be having a roundup live cast at 10 a.m. next Saturday or the Saturday after it, because we'll be in the middle of the Wiki Games. So you can still do the connection checkers, but we won't be doing the roundup. But we will be doing other broadcasts for the Wiki Games. So, and also next week we begin the WikiTree Challenge number 12 with Melanie McComb. So and it's not too late to sign up. So you can sign up for that. Just click on that link and you can sign up to join that. Registration is still open for that. And if you do join up for the WikiTree Challenge, you could compete in the Wiki Games while improving Melanie's CC7.
Oh, yeah.
So
great.
That's something we can do. Or improving the profiles around her. And then we do have a date night just before the WikiTree Games open up, because the date night's at 4 p.m. And then the opening ceremonies for Wiki Games will be at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time, or I think works out to like 9:45 Australian Eastern Standard Time, something like that. Yes, 9:45 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time for Heat 1. That's the opening ceremony. So there's the schedule. So the very first event next week will be the sourcing slalom. So just like a little mini sourceathon. And then we do date diving on the Sunday. And then the following weekend, cross-country connecting, which is like a connectathon, and then long distance locating. So we have to add locations. So
like the Locators Challenge.
Like the Locators Challenge, exactly. Yeah. So those are all fun things that are happening. Yeah. And
yay, Wiki Games.
Yay, Wiki Games. Did you want to talk about the social media?
Let's see.
I've got it here.
So
should we just tell me where to go?
Oh, I'm looking at your screen, so
yeah, there we
go.
go.
Following you.
Oh, is it at the top? It's probably at the top, isn't it? Yeah, there it is. Hello, reply.
Yeah, 18.
There
it is.
Okay.
Oh, as you read that, I will take a look at a challenge that we should mention.
Oh, good. Remember? Yes, there was something we were supposed to remember, and I remember saying that I probably will forget. So
yeah.
Okay.
So I remember.
There we go. So yes, the WikiTree Challenge starts this Thursday with Melanie McComb. The cemetery of the week is Calverton National Cemetery in New York. The question of the week, we don't know what it's going to be. I wonder what the question is. Maybe that's the question. I wonder what the question is.
What's the question of the
That's
week?
the question. That's the question.
Guess the question.
One name study is Nagel. That's interesting. Look at that.
Nagel.
They've got a neat coat of arms. Their family crest. I've never seen that name before.
That's awesome. I've never seen that name.
No. Perth, Ontario is the one place study. Very cool. That's a county in Ontario. Then, of course, we have a Discord party on Notables Discord party on Wednesday. And is that what we should be mentioning? Is it the Notables Discord party?
The Discord party, yay! And now they have the G2G. They didn't have the G2G post. Yeah,
There's the
that's
GTG.
it.
So if we click on that, well, that opens something up. Woo! Invites you to a Discord research party. We're chatting 7:30 to 10:30 Eastern Daylight Time on Wednesday, August 4th. Oh, wait a second. That's old news. That's 2 days ago.
Oh, so there's no G2G yet, maybe, but the research party is on Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Okay. Of course, then WikiTree Games is coming up. So Thursday, feel free to promote it. And then Hall of Fame, date night. And that's it. There's lots happening. Lots.
Yeah, let's prepare ourselves for the Wiki Games.
That's right, yes.
Talk with your mates on Discord or in G2G.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Have you contacted your team, Greg?
I have, and I've got all but one person is on Discord. So I've so we're pretty close. We actually had a little team meeting on Thursday, and I'm going to have another team meeting on Monday, so we can just chat.
Oh,
it's funny. They're saying, "Oh, we know who you are. We're used to seeing your face all the time." But of course, so it's neat having the team meeting because I get to see their faces. I get to see the other side of the camera for a change.
of course. Yeah, maybe I'll do the same.
Yeah,
I'll copy your idea.
Great. Well, thanks everyone who's joined us. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Vicki, for sticking around. I'm all by myself by the end.
Oh, of course. I will stay with you till the end.
Very good. And thanks for everyone who joined us in the chat and those who are watching afterwards. Hope you have enjoyed this as well. And we will see you. We will see you on various broadcasts throughout the Wiki Games as various
next Friday, next Saturday.
Next Saturday, Fridays, Friday night,
Next
Saturday,
Monday.
Sunday. It'll be a lot of fun. So
yeah,
let's see you around. Bye.
Have fun.